Horror gaming has come a long way, but sometimes to appreciate where we are now, we have to go back to where it all began. Welcome to Slow Talk, and my name is Shane, and today we're taking a deep dive into some classic horror games that you and I played as a child. And today we're diving into the classics that define true survival horror. And what better way to start than the one that changed everything? Resident Evil. The game that didn't just scare us, but redefined the genre with fixed camera angles, tank controls, and that haunting atmosphere. Does it still hold up today? This franchise didn't just define a genre, it practically invented it. So let's go back to where it all started in 1996, when Capcom unleashed a game that would forever change the way we experience horror games. Back in the mid-90s, horror games existed, but nothing quite like Resident Evil. Developed by Shinji and his team at Capcom, the first game was originally inspired by an old horror game called Sweet Home. But instead of sticking with 2D sprites, Capcom went all in with the cinematic fixed camera angles, eerie pre-rendered backgrounds, and a claustrophobic mansion filled with grotesque creatures. Players took on the role of either Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, elite operatives of STARS investigating strange murders in the forest outside Raccoon City. Their search led to the infamous Spencer Mansion, a place filled with deadly traps, brain-hungry zombies, and some of the most terrifying monster designs ever seen in gaming history. And let's not forget about the absurd, yet iconic, dialogue.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
When Resident Evil dropped, horror in gaming was more about fast-paced action. Doom and Alone had their moments, but Resident Evil introduced something new, true survival horror. Forced players to think, conserve resources, and make every bullet count. It wasn't just about blasting monsters, it was about strategy and surviving. The fixed camera angles were just a technical choice. They were honestly a masterclass in psychological horror. Not being able to see around the next corner, I mean, that is like next level, like over anticipation, just fear. Resident Evil became a massive hit and kickstarted one of gaming's biggest franchises. It's responsible for countless sequels, spin-offs, movies, some great, and some, and a full-blown remake in 2002 that's still one of the best horror games ever made. The series evolved over time, leaning into action with Resident Evil 4, then returning to pure horror with Resident Evil 7 and Village. But the original Resident Evil, that's the foundation. It didn't just set the bar for survival horror, it was the bar. Without it, we wouldn't have things like Silent Hill, Dead Space, or even modern horror like The Last of Us. So next time you play a horror game and feel that creeping dread, that urge to check your ammo, peek around every corner, or listen to approaching footsteps, you can thank Resident Evil for teaching us what real fear looks like.
Jill sandwich.
Speaking of fear, our next horror game is F.E.A.R. 2. Sidekick ghost children, slow motion shootouts, and a whole lot of, so, I mean, we got a couple floors to go. They say I am the fastest man alive. A game that blended horror and first-person shooter in a way that still holds up today. So here's the deal. F.E.A.R. 2 dropped back in 2009, following up on the insane, mind-blowing first game. This time you play as Michael Beckett, a soldier who's just trying to do his job until he gets caught up in Alma Wade's very disturbing nightmare world. But what made F.E.A.R. 2 so special? Well, it took the creepy vibes of the first game, cranked up the action, and gave us an even more what the heck moments. Is it as terrifying as the first F.E.A.R? Maybe not, but it's got the atmosphere, the intensity, and just enough nightmare fuel to make you check behind you while playing. And let's be real, blasting enemies in slow motion never gets old. You know, I remember playing F.E.A.R 2 when I was, I don't know, maybe 10 or something at a friend's house. And I think that's really what sparked my interest in horror games. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into the psychological thriller kind of games, which brings us to our next one, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Mommy! Sorry. You know, nowadays, a lot of horror games, you can fight back. They give you guns, they give you weapons, fists, anything that you could use to take down the enemies ahead. But no. Back in 2010, when Amnesia: The Dark came out, no weapons, no combat, just you. This wasn't just a horror game. It was a full-blown panic attack simulator with a sanity system where you can't be in the dark for too long. You have to stay in the light. The monster, absolute nightmare fuel. And the sound design. Oh! It made sure that in any moment you never felt safe. What the hell was that? Are the walls closing in? What's going on? But here's the real kicker. Amnesia didn't just scare players. It changed how we experienced horror games. This was one of the first horror games that truly blew up on YouTube. It turned horror gaming into almost a spectator sport. Without Amnesia, we might not have had the golden age of Let's Plays, the rise of PewDiePie, or even the indie horror scene that blew up because of this. Think about it. No Amnesia, no Outlast, no Five Nights at Freddy's. This game redefined horror, proving you didn't need guns and cheap jump scares. But what do you think? Does Amnesia the Dark still hold up? Or is its new son of a game, Amnesia the Bunker, better? Is it worse? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you want more deep dives into games and just overall nerdy things like this, then hit the like button and consider subscribing. Or he's gonna come and get you.